Shaquille O'Neal didn't enter the NBA, he crashed into it. A force so large, so violent, so joyful, so overwhelming that the league wasn't ready for him. No generation had ever seen anything like him, and maybe no generation ever will again. Because Shaq didn't just dominate basketball. He bent the sport into something he could mold with power, personality, and presence. From the moment he touched an NBA court, it was obvious. Shaq wasn't a player. He was an event. 7'1", 325 pounds. Agility that shouldn't exist in bodies that size. Strength that defenders could feel in their bones days later. A power that didn't need finesse, but still had finesse in ways nobody expected. The first time he ran the floor as a rookie, it looked like a building was sprinting in transition. The first time he dunked, you could hear the ring panic. The first time he backed someone down, the league understood they had two choices: either get out of the way or get buried. But Shaq's rise didn't come from arrogance. It came from belief. Belief that he was meant to be larger than life, not just physically, but spiritually. A belief that he had something to prove to every critic who said big men couldn't move like guards, couldn't dominate entire eras, couldn't redefine what unstoppable meant. Shaq heard every word. Then he answered in the only language defenders understood: pain. Early in Orlando, the league saw the blueprint forming. He wasn't just big, he was coordinated. He had footwork, he had touch, he had awareness. He ran the floor like a freight train, blocked shots with perfect timing, and dunked with such force that he literally ripped down backboards. Not once, not twice, multiple times. But the real transformation, the moment Shaq stopped being a marvel and became a monster, came in Los Angeles. With Kobe beside him, Phil Jackson guiding him, and the Lakers built around him, Shaq walked into a power that looked mythical. The league had strong centers, disciplined centers, skilled centers, but Shaq wasn't built to compete with them. He was built to erase them. Patrick Ewing, Alonzo Mourning, David Robinson, Dikembe Mutombo, Tim Duncan, Hakeem Olajuwon, great players, great defenders, Hall of Famers. Shaq made them look small. Every post touch was a threat. Every deep seal was a warning. Every drop step was a catastrophe for the man standing behind him. Shaq didn't score, he punished. He didn't dunk, he detonated. He played basketball like it was demolition. He played the paint like a territory he owned, and every time he roared after a dunk, it wasn't celebration, it was declaration. This is mine. But beneath all that destruction was something deeper, something the casual fan never saw. Shaq had intelligence, real basketball IQ, patience, screens that created space like moving walls, passes that hit shooters before defenders even turned, reads on double teams that came naturally, effortlessly. Because Shaq wasn't just a force, he was a thinker wrapped inside a giant. The 2000 playoffs became his proof of dominance. The 2001 run was his masterpiece. The 2002 finals were his coronation. And the three-peat, his validation. MVP, finals MVP, champion, again and again. Shaquille O'Neal became the most unstoppable interior presence the league had ever seen. When he planted his foot in the paint, the debate ended. When he lowered his shoulder, defenders prayed. When he lifted off 2 feet, it wasn't a basketball play, it was a natural disaster. But even dominance has layers, and Shaq's greatest layer wasn't physical, it was joy. Shaq played with a spark that made the game feel alive. He laughed, he joked, he lifted teammates when they were down. He used emotion to balance pressure. He turned locker rooms into families. He made the NBA feel fun, even when opponents were terrified of him. After Los Angeles, his journey didn't fade, it expanded. Miami, Phoenix, Cleveland, Boston. Every locker room instantly changed the moment he arrived. He taught young players how to work. He reminded veterans how to lead. He brought gravity, not just physically, but emotionally. Because Shaq didn't believe in simply being dominant. He believed in being unforgettable. And he was. He still is. But part 2 of Shaq's legacy, the part fans almost never talk about, is the evolution he made after the dunk stopped. Most superstars shrink when their careers end. Shaq grew. He became more visible, more iconic, more connected to the game than ever. Analyst, entrepreneur, actor, ambassador, mentor, father figure to a generation of players who grew up watching his highlights on cracked phone screens. Shaq never disappeared, he multiplied. Because the truth about Shaquille O'Neal is simple. His size was temporary. His dominance was historical. His impact is eternal. The NBA will produce shooters, It will produce scorers. It will produce athletes. But it will never, never produce another Shaq, a man too big to be guarded, too skilled to be dismissed, too charismatic to be forgotten, too powerful to be repeated. Shaquille O'Neal didn't just dominate an era, he ended it. And the league has been trying to build players big enough, strong enough, and brave enough to replace him ever since. But legends, Shaquille O'Neal's second chapter doesn't start with dominance. It starts with memory. Memory of what he built, memory of what he broke, memory of what he carried, not just as a player, but as a symbol of a force the NBA had no blueprint for. Because when the league adjusted to him, they adjusted to survive, not to compete. But the truth is, Shaq's second chapter isn't about what he did on the court. It's about what happened when the world finally realized the cost of being Shaquille O'Neal. People saw the dunks, people saw the power, people saw the broken backboards, but they didn't see what his body absorbed. Hits, collisions, elbows, weight, miles, years of carrying more mass and more expectation than any player in the sport's history. Part 2 begins when people expected decline, when they expected the monster to slow, when they expected the freight train to lose steam. But instead, Shaq got smarter. He used timing instead of brute force, angles instead of collisions, patience instead of speed. He didn't fight younger bigs with strength he no longer needed. He beat them with knowledge they couldn't dream of having. He stopped jumping high because he no longer needed height to dominate the paint. He used leverage, weight, pivots, footwork, and the kind of subtle shoulder moves that defenders felt in their ribs for the next week. Shaq had entered the realm every true great eventually reaches, the place where experience becomes the deadliest weapon. He didn't need to dunk on you anymore. He could destroy your game with a seal, with a rotation, with a screen that felt like running into a refrigerator wrapped in steel. He bent defenses not with power, but with presence. Just standing near the paint was gravity. But something deeper happened in this second chapter, something fans didn't expect. Shaq's personality, once overshadowed by his dominance, began to shine even more. His laugh, his joy, his humor, his lightness. It all began surfacing as his body carried a little less chaos on the court. He became someone players trusted, someone reporters loved, someone fans gravitated toward. Because beneath the monster was a man who wanted to make people smile. And yet, the passion remained untouched. Shaq was still the protector of teammates, still the silence breaker in huddles, still the first to challenge anyone who didn't give full effort. Still the presence that made rookies straighten their backs when he walked into the room. His Miami era captured this perfectly. He didn't need to be the most dominant player in the world anymore. He just needed to be the anchor, the foundation, the championship stabilizer next to a young star emerging in Dwyane Wade. And he did it flawlessly. Shaq taught Wade how to lead, how to carry the weight of a franchise, how to thrive in moments where the noise grows unbearable. His mentorship wasn't loud. It was embedded in every joke, every handshake, every fire he kept burning inside Wade through 2006. Shaq didn't just help Miami win a title. He helped shape another superstar's legacy. And that became the theme of his second chapter. Shaq, the destroyer, became Shaq, the builder. He built confidence in young stars, built chemistry in locker rooms, built trust with coaches, built belief inside organizations that had forgotten what belief felt like. Phoenix felt it. Cleveland felt it. Boston felt it. Every team Shaq touched gained something intangible, something that lived beyond box scores. Because dominance fades, teammates retire, fame shifts, but culture lasts. Shaq carried culture everywhere he went. The younger generation didn't grow up afraid of him. They grew up inspired by him. Centers all over the league tried to mimic his power. Wings tried to match his confidence. Bigs tried to learn his footwork. But they learned quickly. You can mimic strength. You can mimic moves. But you can't mimic presence. Shaq's presence wasn't technique. It was soul. And even as his career reached its sunset, Shaq's mind became sharper. He studied analytics, studied spacing, studied how the game was shifting. And he adapted, because the great ones always do. He redefined his game so younger teammates could thrive. He became the master of early seals, the master of late rotations, the master of interior communication on defense. He didn't roar anymore. He directed. He organized. He stabilized. The man who once tore backboards down was now building teams up. In Boston, Even with his body worn down from a lifetime of collisions, Shaq gave everything he had left. He played hurt, played through pain with the stubbornness that made his name a legend. He wasn't chasing numbers, wasn't chasing highlights. He was chasing closure. The chance to walk away with nothing left to give. But here's the truth about Shaquille O'Neal's second chapter. His career didn't end when he retired. His impact exploded. He became the voice of the game, the humor of the game, the comfort of the game, the bridge between eras.